Hello and welcome to Farming Simulator 17. I'm Andy and this is Let's Play on the Björktorps Gård map. So I'm on the next field here. I just started out, so basically I'm right behind, just where I left off yesterday, on yesterday's recording. We're gonna do a sort of a headland on this time around, so it will be easier, it won't miss as much, which we need to go back and fix. So I'm gonna go back and forth this part of the field once, and then we'll do the same at the opposite side of the field, and then we'll let the hired worker do the rest. And then my plan is to actually go and buy the telehandler. We don't have that much money, so we need to take out another loan, but it's a pretty cool thing. So it's pretty cool telehandler. It's the Paus 8.7 or something, I think it's called. It came out for FS17 quite at the end of it. End of the run. We're pretty close to when FS19 was coming out, so it was cool. I actually think I did a review on it on FS17. It's kind of cool because it can swivel the head of it, which makes me, I think it's pretty cool that way. But we're gonna take a look at it. We're gonna buy it and take a look at it. Maybe use it a little bit if the horses need something, which they might need. Where we could go. Okay, so this I find that this works better if you do like headlands, or at least 2 headlands on each side of the map, and then let the hired worker do its thing. Then it doesn't miss as much. You don't need to go and clean it up as usually never. If you do it correctly, if you do like 2 headlands, it usually, or 3 depending on which implement you're using and how the field's actually situated and what sort of boundaries there are, or what kind of stuff there is around the boundary. So for instance, if there's a lot of trees and rocks and that sort of stuff, you will probably need maybe do sometimes even 3 headlands for the hired worker not to miss something, but that's very dependent on which field and which sort of implement are you using and what you're trying to accomplish. But usually I think 2 is most of the time sufficient, sometimes even 1, depending on what you're doing, but at least 2, then you're pretty safe. I'm trying to do this from the inside. Trying to be better at this inside work. Realistic work. So we'll just get up here. I think I decided not to lime that field over there, because it's, well, it could be lime, of course, that's not a problem, but I think it will hold off until it's actually in need of lime, because in real life, if you would lime it, you would get an imbalance of pH, I think, of the soil, and that's not really what you're trying to accomplish. Don't know if this is gonna work. We'll see. Maybe I put myself far too too far to the right there. Let's see where we can get here. It's not a problem. We'll make it work. Just a little bit, but that's okay. Some my like OCD brain goes like, "Oh, you missed a bit. You need to go back and get that." And the sane part of my brain goes like, "Oh, never mind. It's just a little tiny bit. It will be more costly to go get it. It's pretty much anything. It will disappear when you see the next field and next season anyway. Just leave it." My other brain, my sane brain says to me. So I'm listening to my sane brain this time. Most of the time. It's sort of like sometimes you want to do things. I have a strong urge to do things correctly or right, but sometimes that leads to issues, I guess. Sometimes you have to. I mean, it's the balance of life, isn't it? You need to have some sort of balance between all the things you do. It's my opinion. If you don't have balance, then you will end up not feeling bad, but sometimes you will actually become ill from it. And you don't want to be ill. I'm just saying, I don't. It's interesting how when we move from a state of society where we don't need to do things just to survive, where we move to hopes and dreams, and that sometimes we'll well, I figured in a lot of some societies on Earth, it's just about surviving. So the point of life is basically trying to survive as long as you can. But I live in a society where most people survive to adulthood, and most people live pretty long and pretty prosperous lives, and everyone is miserable. Actually, that's not true. We're not miserable. Actually, one of the happiest people in the world, depending on how you look at happiness, of course. It's always about how you define things. But why are people miserable? Why do people feel sad? And why? Because maybe it's just because that's a part of life. You'll always yearn. Oh, sorry. Hey, Fia. Say hey. Let's go and empty this. Oh, I should have emptied it before. Okay, so we'll go and put this in here. And we'll go and empty this at the silo too, because we need to do that. So it's going to be full. So this holds 30,000, which is kind of cool. A lot of canola. That's a lot of canola. Got around there. Sorry, it's like probably quite tight. So a lot of people. I mean, you can't be happy all the time. No one's happy all the time. I'm not happy all the time, and I'm pretty sure neither are you. But we need to find some sort of balance in life, which means we don't go around feeling too bad, or at least don't do anything stupid about it. We need to live. I guess that's a choice. We were talking about that, me and my fiance, like, because people who are, so for instance, diagnosed with cancer, which is terminal, they don't have time to go around feeling sorry for themselves, or they probably do feel sorry for themselves, but they don't have time running around acting like that their mission and goal, what's important in life. When it starts to end, you'll probably have a whole lot of other oh, that was hard. When you come towards the end of your life, you probably, even though depending on when that comes, you probably have different priorities. And I actually talking about that. They were talking about that on the radio, I think yesterday or the day before that, where they do this comparison. They've been doing this since the early 70s, since we look at people who are 70 years old, and they look at how they feel, how quality of life, economics, their economy, sorry. And they look at all of those things, and they compare them basically to sort of look at how they feel basically. And it's quite stunning, the development or the change that's happened during the last, say, 50 years. Basically today, a person at 70 today is basically not, I mean, this is like in general terms. There are lots of differences between individuals, but if you look in a general term, from a general point of view, people that are 70 today are more like they were like when they were 50s in the 1970s. So that's it. It's like a 20-year, and they look at the health issues. People are more healthy today. They have better economy. They do more things. It's like the researcher or scientist, the professor, he said that it's kind of interesting because people in the 70s are more like, have more in common with people in their 20s today, because they want to do everything. They want to see the world. They want to have so much goals they want to accomplish today, and they didn't used to be that way. The way it used to be was that people who were in the 70s basically were waiting to die. They were sitting in their apartments or homes and it was like, oh yeah, so the end is coming. Which is sad, I guess, in some ways. But it's also pretty understandable. So that's a big change. People today want to live and they want to have quality of life and that sort of stuff. And sometimes we get stuck with people feeling bad, which I just did. I just did that, right? And you miss the part that most people get to have a pretty decent life, actually. They do pretty cool things. That, I mean, that comes at a sort of expense on the planet, for instance, which is problematic in so many ways. But it's just very interesting, I think. So, the 70-year-olds of today are like the 50-year-olds of the 1970s, which is cool, pretty cool actually. It's really truly remarkable change. At least in the way I'm looking, I see it. And it's pretty awesomely cool, right? We mustn't forget that. Seems like we're never gonna get to buying that telehandler, am I? Soon. I'm gonna buy it soon. Promise. Just gonna do this up and turn around here, and we'll go back, and then we can let the hide worker do its thing. This does turn on a dime, doesn't it? Which is, oh, maybe I should at least start off. That's sort of the right point. So, things are actually looking pretty good. If you survive long enough, you'll have a pretty good quality of life. The discussion in Sweden is that that's a bit problematic because we don't really know how to fund everything. So how are we going to fund people getting older? Because if you retire, which is perfectly understandable, if you work the time entire life, you want to retire, then you're not bringing in money to society. Costs. Basically, we cost in the beginning of our lives and at the end of our lives. We actually cost in between there too, but we bring in more money than we use, so we are dependent on having a what's the word? Demography? No. Oh, I forgot the word. Sorry. That has a lot of people in the productive ages. We need that. Otherwise we'll have problems in the future. Missed the spot there. Anyway, so that's the sort of problem, that the population and their build up in age and that sort of stuff. And as people grow older, even though we're healthier as we grow older, we still also grow a lot older, which means there's more people that need help, which is of course an expense. But we can't just look at it that way. We have to look at it from a humanistic perspective, that people, and also an environmental issue, is really. It's understandable that people want to have a good life, but the problem is at what cost? And the economy is like, oh, we have to raise the gross revenue. What's the word? Oh, I forgot the word. Is that really viable? That shouldn't we sacrifice some of our growth expenditure or growth potential for maybe just having a nicer life or a calmer life and working less? Why do you keep working so much? We don't need to work this much to survive. We are way, at least in this world where I live, and that's quite a big part of the population of Earth actually, that are past the need to work to survive. We are basically just working to do this, to sit on my computer and play games. The ability to do this is dependent on me working a lot, which is just weird, isn't it? Why do we do that? We don't need to do that. We don't need to survive. I could have perfectly nice. I could sit in a chair reading a book. That's a really cheap way of spending my time reading. Anyway, well, let's see if we get this. So, hired worker. Here we go. We need to move this out of the way because I want. Otherwise, we will have problems turning around here when we get to this part of the map. Oh, field. Sorry, map. This field. I want to check out if I need to lime that. That field which we just harvested. Come on. Oh, this is taking a lot of time. Why is this taking a lot of time? It is taking a lot of time, maybe because I have a lot of information to see. There you go. Oh, interesting. No. So, do we need to lime that? No, that's lime. That didn't need to lime. This needs to be limed, so we'll need to lime that later. We're just gonna empty this, and then we can buy. Then I'm actually gonna buy that telehandler we're talking about so long. Just want to empty the combine when we turn around. I don't know if you use overload. I don't think you actually use the these sort of overloaders a lot in Sweden. They're cool, but I like green carts and that sort of stuff. I just think the way the things I see, you just use basic trailers which you unload. They unload it at your silo at the farm or wherever you're selling it. So we don't. I don't think this is not the way you usually do it in Sweden. I'm pretty sure about that. So I should probably go and buy. If I wanted this realistic, I would go sell this and buy a couple of trailers instead, which I would drive around with. It would be much more realistic. But I'm doing it this way now. Till I change my mind. That is.